Hey, and welcome back to the Joie Miller podcast. We are in our series called Becoming Her, walking in our identity with the fullest confidence and just the no. Okay.
Okay, you ready?
Yes.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, and welcome to the Joie Miller podcast. I'm so excited for you to join me today. We are in our Becoming Her series. It's all about walking in the identity of who God has called you to be and doing it with confidence and becoming the best version of yourself and actually liking her. Not only becoming her, but liking that version that you know God has spoken into your spirit that He has calling you to become. And so today we're talking all about boundaries. The question I have for you is, are you a yes girl? Because you will never become her. You'll never become the best version of yourself if you are a yes girl. If you're always saying yes to other people, regardless of what God is asking you to do. And so have you ever said yes to somebody to avoid disappointing them, hurting their feelings, because you didn't want to let them down? If you can say yes to that, I think that you are in good company. We all have those moments where we don't want to disappoint the people around us. There was a season where I just wanted to be everything to everybody, and I felt like I could do that. And my husband had to remind me that I couldn't just keep saying yes to the PTA, to the field trips, to the decorating of the school beautification committee, whatever it was. If you would have asked me, I would have said yes. I want to do it. Yes, because I didn't want to disappoint anyone or let them down. And so I want to ask you, are you saying yes to things and then instantly regretting your yes? I remember that season of my life, and although I would say yes in the moment, every other moment when it came to that thing that I said yes to was full of regret, and I would almost just like despise it and dread it. And so instead of being filled with joy, I was actually dreading the things that I had to do daily. And there's nothing worse than waking up in the morning and dreading things. And so maybe you're watching today and you know what? You're like, you know what? Yeah, I just kind of wake up and I regret the things that I said yes to. And not that everything that you say yes to, you're going to be fully motivated for. Like some things you have to say yes to, even when you don't feel like it. I'm talking about establishing a good boundary line that you can differentiate what you feel called to, your purpose, your passion, where your peace lies, and then what everybody else is asking of you. Giving yourself permission today. Listen to me. If you're going to become her, you have to give yourself permission to say no to some things in your life. Boundaries are all about protecting what God has entrusted you with. And if you're not careful, in an effort to do good to everybody, you'll miss out on what God has called and purposed you to do. And so a lot of times in the space of Christianity, people just expect us to say yes all the time. Yes, yes, I'll help with the bake sale. Yes, I'll volunteer with the children's ministry. Yes, I will clean the church after everyone leaves. And those things are good, but we have to give ourselves permission to say no in order to say yes to the greater things in our lives. Point number 1 is this. If you're taking notes on this important topic of setting boundaries, Jesus said no, so I can too. Jesus said no, so I can too. If you would think anybody should say yes all the time, it would be Jesus. He came to this earth to serve mankind, to die for mankind. And yet we see scriptures like Luke 5:16, where it says Jesus often, not sometimes, not rarely, he often withdrew to lonely places to pray. And you might say, yeah, that's great. Jesus went and prayed. How does that talk about boundaries? Well, Jesus would have to purposefully turn away crowds. It's not like Jesus was just starting his ministry and nobody was asking him for anything. He actually would get mobbed by crowds who would want healing, who would want to hear from him. And he would have to at some point cut off the need to go and be alone with God. And our number one purpose as a child of God isn't to just do for everybody else. It's to go away and be alone with God. And maybe you're watching today and you're like, yeah, I'm a yes girl. I often feel like I have to please everybody at the expense of even my relationship with the Lord. We get up in the morning, women, and we have a million things to do on our to-do list. There's dishes in the sink. There's papers that need signed. There's housework that needs tended to. There's children that get up. And if we're not careful, our yes can turn into a no when it comes to our quiet time with God. If Jesus had to withdraw on purpose, if he had to set a boundary between the everyday needs, the needs of the people, even the needs of ministry, to be with the Lord, how much more do we need that? It's in those moments that we're actually becoming the person that God has created us to be, not in the doing. It's in the moments where we're withdrawn away with the Lord. And if we're not careful, we can get so busy being about being a Christian that we forget about the true source of our Christianity and our faith. And before we know it, we're being cranky with people. Before we know it, we're getting angry. And the thing that is supposed to be good is actually becoming bad in our lives. And so I would ask you today, do you need to set a boundary with your alone time with God? There's a saying that if I miss my quiet time one day, nobody's going to notice. I'll notice maybe. If I miss it 2 days, maybe my husband will notice if I'm a little bit crankier with him. If I miss it like 3 days, maybe my kids will notice. If I miss it like going on a week, everybody will notice. They'll be like, who is this woman? Is she even saved? She is acting erratic in the middle of Walmart. And I say that to say is we can very easily convince ourselves that we don't need the power source. And I want to remind you today that if you're going to walk in God's purpose for your life, you need to stay connected to the source of power, to the one that called you in the first place, to the one that is in the transformation business. Because if not, our hearts can get hardened really quickly. We can get into a space where our feelings are leading us, where we're feeling like resentful and we don't want to do the things that are supposed to be a fruit of walking with Christ. And so I would say put a boundary around your time with the Lord. Don't be afraid to say no to the dishes, to say no to the kids for a couple minutes, put them in front of some toys or in front of a video. But guard your time with the Lord. It is precious time. Jesus made boundaries. You make boundaries too. Decide what is urgent and what is important in your life. This is going to be something you have to constantly evaluate. What are the things that are immediate and what are the things that can wait? Because the urgent will always try to rob us of the important things in our lives. Do you want to grow in different areas of your life? Maybe this podcast has helped you in getting your life organized or getting your schedule in order. I have a program that you are going to love, and it's called Success CEO. It's about becoming the CEO of your own life. Organize your time block, get your goals and vision in order to start taking ground this year. Check it out today. Point number 2 is just that boundaries are for our own good. They protect us. They're not punishing us. They're protecting God's purpose in us. They're not punishing the people around us. So number 1 really had to do with keeping our peace. This has to do with keeping our purpose protected. It's about saying God has called me to something specific and I can't give my best to what he's called me to if I'm doing a million other things. There was a season where my purpose was being a mom. And I allowed people to invade on that space. There would be people we would be ministering to. And I made the mistake of giving them my cell phone number because I wanted to fulfill what I felt like was a purpose. I needed a validation of feeling purposeful in this area because I knew long term I was called to ministry. Yet in the moment, I was called to being a mom. And that was my primary purpose. but I was allowing these people to invade on like my home life, to bring their chaos into my peace. A lot of them were recovering addicts, and my phone was ringing like nonstop. And so, they fell into their addiction again. And while I wanted to be a help and fulfill a purpose, I wasn't setting that boundary, and it was starting to rob me of the time with my kids. Like, I'm a mom, I'm enjoying my kids, and I get like a frantic phone call. And what I learned was their chaos was going to be ongoing. I had to learn to guard my purpose in that season and my peace, because if not, it was going to be constant invasion, constant interruption. I'm trying to have fun with my kids, and it's like always an emergency situation. And so guarding the purpose of that season, discerning the purpose and guarding that purpose. You can't give your best to the people around you when you're allowing things that are less meaningful to suck the life out of you. If you're coming home from work every day and you're giving to everybody else, and you come home and you're cranky with your kids, you're misplacing your purpose. You're misplacing what God has called you to in this season, and you're forfeiting it for something temporary. Many times we can misplace purpose with validation, and busyness with purposeful expression of our time. And so we never want to get so busy that we're not being productive, that we're just doing to do because it somehow makes us feel like we're validated. We need to protect our purpose in this season by saying, I'm going to give my efforts towards what my values are, and everything else is going to have to take a side space. And that's okay. Giving yourself permission to do that. You will thank yourself. The future version of who God is calling you to be will thank you for establishing this boundary and protecting this season of your life. I was just looking back on baby pictures with my kids. We have our third daughter is graduating from high school. And so it's a time of reflection. And I go back and I look at those pictures and think, man, like life's so amazing right now. But I wish like just for one day I could go back and live in this space. And so don't be so quick to hurry through, to be distracted, to let other things eat up your time. Just kind of like reside with peace in the place that God has you right now. Don't let your validation come from busyness. There's always going to be things that try to vie for your time, but stay in that place of guarding your purpose. And lastly, the question I want you to ask yourself, point number 3, is fear your motivation? Is fear your motivation? Are you afraid you're going to miss out on something? Sometimes obedience sounds like a big old no. God is trying to save you if you actually ask him instead of just saying yes to everything. Ask him, what is it that you want me to do in this season? And ask, am I allowing fear to be my motivator? Am I afraid that if I say no, somebody's not going to like me? Am I afraid that if I say no, I'm going to miss out on getting there fast enough? We have this unspoken rat race to our destiny, and we can think if we say no, or if we don't serve in that ministry, or if we don't show up every time the church door is open, that we're going to miss out on something. It's understanding like God has a purpose and he has a plan, and I can rely on him to accomplish that. That means I go to him and ask him, like, do you want me to be a part of this ministry? Not too long ago, I accepted a speaking engagement, and instead of like really taking it to the Lord, I was like, yeah, sure. Like, I love to speak. I want to use my gift. And it wasn't the best use of my gift. It was an audience that probably was a mismatch for my gifting. And instead of me asking God about it, I did it. And for 2 days straight, like I was a part of this speaking engagement that probably should have been a no. I was trying to fulfill a purpose and fill my calendar, and God was thinking, if you would have just asked me, I would have probably said no, and you could have been more productive with your time and not feel discouraged and not feel yucky about how you spent your time, resentful in it. And so, ask God and know that sometimes the answer is going to be no. Even for good things. No, you shouldn't do that. No, you shouldn't serve on the PTA right now. No, you shouldn't, you shouldn't take every opportunity that comes your way. That life's not a rat race. That when you walk with God, there is a peace knowing that God ordains your steps. So boundaries protect your peace, your purpose, and your priorities. So a good thing to do is to take a boundary assessment. How do you do this? Are there areas that you feel resentful in, that you feel drained? Do you feel anxious when you have to do something? If the answer is yes to any of those things, you might need to set a boundary. And maybe that boundary is taking time to rest, taking time to rejuvenate, to spend time with the Lord. Maybe it's a self-care day that you've been neglecting. Do you feel resentful? Do you feel drained or anxious? Set a boundary and ask God to show you the areas that you need to say yes to and the areas that you need to say no to. Be sensitive to Him, and you will continue to become the best version of yourselves. I'm giving you permission right now to say no, set boundaries in the right place. I'll talk to you soon as we continue this conversation on becoming her on next week's episode of the Joie Miller Podcast.